This St. John's River, unique, incredible, and full of fish always. But there's always a special week every year when the big ones show themselves. This is the week.
That's a giant.
Day one of the tournament, the reigning Bassmaster Classic champion Randy Howell, and a huge limit to take the lead.
Lost my shoes.
Then we begin to get an idea of just what's out there.
I got you. Wow.
Whether you were an Elite Series veteran or a rookie,
baby.
you quickly figured out that this week was going to be a special opportunity.
Boom shakalaka, giant bass.
To hold up a giant with the crowds and cameras. And then on day two, Chris Lane storms into the lead with this incredible limit. 5 fish, 37 pounds, and 9 ounces.
7 pounds, 9 ounces.
This is going to be one of those tournaments.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Giant after giant.
Yeah, baby! Pow!
Chris Lane hangs on, extends his lead, and like everyone else, he can't wait until the final day to see how big he can go. Because this is the week. And again, the stage was set on day one of this tournament when the reigning Classic champion Randy Howell, who had finished near the bottom of the field at stop number 1, came out swinging in Palatka with 27 pounds and 3 ounces. Here he is back at it again on day 2.
Oh, Lee, she's a big one. Oh, gosh. She's a big one. She's a big one. Come on, Jesus. Come on, Jesus. Yes. Woo. That's what I'm talking about. That's a giant. Yes. Right in the mouth. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Lord. That's a big one. That's a big one. Woo. Yeah. Lost my shoe. Lost my shoe getting after that one, son. Golly, I told you it was either 4 or 5 pounds or it was real big, and it's real big. That's a, dang on, that's an 8 pounder, I think. Doggone, that's a giant. Thank you, Jesus. Woo, man. Yes, sir.
What a week, what a tournament. Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona with you here from the incomparable St. John's River, and not every year do we get to go to a place where that week is happening. This is special.
Exactly. The timing's definitely right. And the St. John's River, the best way to describe it if you've never been there, this is the land of Kong. And looking forward into our final day, it's the clash of the Titans. You look at classic champions, Mark Davis, Randy Howell, Davy Hite, throw a Chris Lane in there. Bud, that is a home run derby.
Yeah, you've pointed out that not all the locals saw this coming, but Chris Lane unlocked it. What can you not wait to ask him about how he unlocked this
I
lake?
think the hardest thing in bass fishing is to get away from the crowd. Knowing where there's a lot of bass and a lot of anglers and big catches being caught, to leave that to just, you know what, I'm not going to go there. I want to know why he did that.
All right, we'll find out. Chris Lane will be here, Davy Hite as well, as we break down this amazing bass fishing tournament.
There she is, boys.
The Bassmaster Elite Series, St. John's River, is brought to you by Mercury. Minn Kota. Triton Boats. And by Nitro.
Some incredible things we have seen all up and down this incredible river, the St. John's River in Florida. There is no place like it. 350 plus miles running south to north. One of the most bass fishing looking places on earth, and there's some evidence that this is the week to be at the St. John's River, and our leader going into the final day, Chris Lane, and another great one. That's going to make the Evan Williams shot of the day. Chris Lane just overwhelming this field, in a strong field, maybe the strongest ever on the St. John's River, as we get ready for the final weigh-in.
Let's get ready to weigh up! Our
folks at Palatka always coming out and supporting the Bassmaster Elite Series. And David Walker, another good tournament for him. Not enough to take the lead. How about Jason Williamson? He can't take it over either, and ditto for Todd Fairclough.
From Lake Havasu City, Arizona, Dean the Machine Rojas. Good bag. 20 pounds, 15 ounces, the number he's looking for. 21 pounds, 10 ounces. Dean Rojas rockets into the lead.
A final day fireworks from Dean Rojas. He started out in 9th place, now he's in the hot seat. Meanwhile, the likes of Paul Elias can't take over the lead. Justin Lucas, the rookie. Great tournament for him, though, and a great tournament for our classic champ, Randy Halbert. No lead yet, even as we go through Alton Jones and Keith Combs. Nobody can knock out Dean Rojas, not even Mark Davis, and we are getting down to a precious few here as Davy Hite falls short as well, but one guy left.
Superstar, come on up here, let's go, let's get this thing on, come on.
From Guntersville, Alabama, Chris Lane. Side by side, you guys know how this works. He's got a limit of fish. 15 pounds, even with 90 pounds, 13 ounces. Chris Lane brings the pain. Only needed 13 ounces. Get loud. Florida, your native son returns. The 2014 Bassmaster Elite Series at the St. Johns River belongs to Chris Lane. The champ is here.
There he is, Chris Lane, triumphant second stop of the year for the Bassmaster Elite Series at the St. Johns River. More than triumphant, this guy was a tsunami. I mean, absolutely wiping out the rest of the field. Over 90 pounds, anchored by that second day, fantastic stringer of fish, 5 fish, over 37 pounds. Tommy Sanders, Mark Zona, and so happy to have the champion.
Champ is here,
Yes.
big time. And we're going to break down, we're going to get into how you caught them, exactly where you caught them. But one of the decisions you made in this tournament was to drive by the packs of boats. I mean, dozens of boats, and never stop and get in that mix.
Yeah, you know, Lake George was loaded with bass. I mean, everywhere. And loaded with boats, too. Not being a big sight fisherman, not enjoying fishing around crowds, period. Mess my head up when I see somebody catch a big one. It does that to me. So, you know, making that run down to Dexter, you know, confident that I could go down there and fish the way that I wanted to and fish well, you know, was a big key to me.
But that's also a very high risk, high reward proposition too.
It is, you know, it's a long run and you know, there's a lot of idle zones in there. There's a lot of 30 mile an hour was as fast as you could run once you got out of Lake George. So still having to go, I don't know, 15, 20 miles, you know, at that speed, you know, there's a lot of thinking time that goes through that as you're just driving down. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful run, but the anticipation is high.
And the one thing I said to you is if you looked at all the other anglers that were in the top 12, their water looks the same, their cover looks the same, your cover looks totally different from anybody else in the field.
Yeah, you know, I was concentrating on lily pads, and the water was very dark there. You know, typical Florida fishing for me, the way that I grew up fishing Kissimmee and ponds and stuff all through Florida. So, you know, I was having a blast. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I was probably the most fun fishing, and to be able to catch that big sack on the second day, just fishing, was just phenomenal.
Oh, don't you do it. Oh my God. Thank you, Lord Jesus, right there, baby. Boom, let's go get another one. Yeah.
And carrying it through the next 2 days, not the easiest thing to do. And you credit, you know, when you won the Classic, you said for me, it was great decisions, great timing. I'm sure timing had a lot to do with it. It's some Florida experience, probably a big part of it as well.
A big part of it,
Yeah.
and timing was a big thing, but you know, having that lead going into the last day, I knew I was not safe. I mean, you've got Faircloth, Davis, Hite, Rojas,
Jones.
past Classic champions, Jones. Those guys have made the top 12 every single time down there. So one fish down there, somebody can take the lead.
Was this a tournament coming into it after practice that you knew you were going to blast them?
No, after the first day of practice, you know, when you've got that much time before the actual event, you know, 2-3 days is a lot of time when fish push up to spawn or coming off. And for the weather and everything to be stable and to hold the way that it did, it doesn't happen like that a whole lot. And that's why the record is held down there in Florida when Rojas set it, because the weather conditions were perfect.
Kind of crude to put it this way, but we're talking about the anatomy of a beatdown, and that's what we're going to continue with. When we continue with the champion, Chris Lane, get more into the techniques, the magic place as well. Don't go away.
No, she didn't. Big, big, big. Yeah! That's just a little pow. Yeah!
Our coverage of the Bassmaster Elite Series on the St. Johns River in Florida continues. Time now for our Yamaha Unlock the Lake, and who better to do that than a lifelong resident of St. Johns Country, Cliff Prince.
Shallow water, tidal influence, and you got to find the clear water to catch the big ones. I spent more time trying to get away from the crowd because they were all bunched up in the clear water, and I spent all my practice trying to find fish that were out of the crowd. And when I did that, I spent too much time in that dirty water, and it just ruined my whole practice. Looking back on it, I should have got in the crowd, but I really don't feel bad because I lost 2 big ones. And that, if I'd have caught them 2 big ones, I'd have been right in the top 10, so.
Oh my God almighty!
Now out on the water right now, early on day number 4, Alton Jones. He lived down in that pack in the southwest corner of Lake George. He said it just received way too much pressure. Went to his backup area day number 2 and has lived there the entire week. Alton Jones with a giant early on day number 4.
Where's one? It's a big one. It's a giant one. It's a giant one. It's a giant fish. Oh yes, I need this one so bad. Stay on there, baby. Oh, get away from those power poles. Get away from those power poles. She wants those power poles. Oh, this is one right here now. A few of these will catch you back up. Okay. Come on, baby. Come right here to Papa. Get my hand in your mouth, please. Please open up. I got you. Wow. Look at that. My heart is pounding. Yum dinger. Oh man. Oh, that's over 8 right there. That is over 8. That's finally caught a big fish this week. And on championship day, that's what you need. I think I can put her on the big side. And I feel fairly confident that I do not need a cull tag in this fish's mouth. Woo! Yes!
So Alton Jones, who won the whole shooting match here a couple of years ago, very, very grateful for that big one. And Chris Lane brought in 5 giants on day 2 of this tournament, just under 38 pounds. And he's back at work just trying to hang on day 4.
Day 4, Chris Lane got to work very early, and he stopped in the mouth of Lake Dexter and put a limit in the boat pretty quick, and he's been concentrating really this entire event on something that we have not seen with any of our other anglers: irregularities and little clumps of lily pads way offshore. In fact, really nobody in our top 15 was fishing this way, and Chris Lane decided late in the morning, you know what, I'm going to pack up, I'm going to go further into Lake Dexter and really fish the same scenario. This is not where he caught his, 7 to 10 pound bass that he was catching earlier, but a lot of his bigger fish that he caught on day number 3 came in this area. He said the number 1 key, lily pads and eelgrass. That's where almost every one of his bites came out of.
Yeah, this is the last area. It's an area where I've caught a lot of good fish, you know, 2.5 to 3.5 pounders, and you know, I caught that big one in here, and those big ones are in here, but the one thing that we need to make sure that we do is get the 12 and a half, 13 inches out. Get the 2-pounders in there, 2.5-pounders, however big they are, chunkers. Get those in the boat, and then, you know, we'll go from there. I think I really need to concentrate on the isolated clumps now. Bigger fish, I think, and a lot better opportunity. I mean, there's the bite right there. It feels good, too. She spit it. She spit it. Oh! No, she didn't. Big, big, big. There we go. There we go. Yeah! That's just a little pow, but you know, I switched to a ribbon tail. You know, it's got a lot more blue on it, and that seemed to help out a little bit. Whew, thank you, Lord. Let's get another one. Just made a move, came over here, switched up a little bit. A good move. That's encouraging. That really helps your momentum when you first get to a new area and get there and you catch one right off the bat, and that just makes you feel good.
Chris Lane feeling it on his final day, championship day. Chris Lane from Gunnersville, Alabama, but the story of his life is Florida fishing, a Florida boy, and he is doing that to perfection on the St. John's. And now David Walker, another angler who's having an outstanding season, just trying to move up that leaderboard a little bit on day 4.
And Walker has lived in Lake George just like he did the last time that the Elite Series was here. And the biggest problem with Lake George, you see where Walker is right there, very calm water. Well, it's what happened before this tournament began. We had so much rain, very, very heavy wind. A lot of Lake George was just blown out. Dirty water, you couldn't see beds. Not only that, the water was just too dirty to catch these bass, but you'd find little pockets of eelgrass where that dirty water wouldn't get up into, and that's exactly what Walker was concentrating on.
How about Keith Combs? Won the initial outing for the Bassmaster Elite Series last year on Falcon Lake. He knows his way around when the big fish come up to play, and he's had a good effort here, just not good enough to catch up to Chris Lane.
I don't know if there's ever been this many 10-pounders caught. I caught a 9-pounder that second day. I almost got booed. Oh, better already. Just dropped it in the hole, and there he was. And it only took till 9:51. But we are on the board and we just made a move, so we're doing better.
Keith Combs operating on the east side of Lake George on day number 3, put together a good day and got himself into 4th place for this final day. He thought he had something going until he got to day 4.
Well, the biggest problem was he arrived at a spot early on day number 4 on the east side, and it was blown out. He had to come over to the west side where, well, there were so many anglers on days 1 and 2. In fact, a lot of people counted 50 boats exactly where Combs is at right here. And the best way to put it, if you look over his shoulder, that flat right there, there was over 2,000 pounds of bass caught. Very few big ones were left.
Davy Hite, definitely one of the stars of this event on the St. John's River. 2 days, over 24 pounds. Unfortunately, the going got tough for him on the 4th day, championship day.
Thought he was big.
You know, the thing that is different with me here this year, you know, I've had some terrible tournaments in Florida, but in the past I'd fish that stretch and I'd just crank up that Emerald and head out 10 miles somewhere else, but I've learned that patience is everything in Florida, so I just turned around and started right back down the same line and, you know, catch a fish. And we're gonna stay on this line most of the day because it's been really good to me. That's what you call
I came right down that line and caught that one little fish, and it was up there on the area that hadn't been very good. But you know, you just turn right back around. You just got to have faith that these fish are living here, and their mood changes as the day progresses. And I've definitely figured out that in the afternoon, those big females, they set up on those spots, and that's when you can really catch them. It seems like the males start getting aggressive first, and then lunchtime on is when you really catch those. You know, I've caught a 10 and an 8, you know, the last 3 days, and I like to catch a 10 and an 8 here on the last day.
Well, we call Davy Hite a home run hitter for a reason. You're not a dude that goes out there and fishes for 5 bass that weigh 8 pounds. You fish for big ones, but this lake in particular, there's giants in here, but they're not incredibly dumb.
They're not. You know, these fish are hard to catch on the bed. Lake George is known for one of the premier sight fishing lakes in the country, and these big fish, you know, they just get accustomed to this boat pressure and they swim off of these beds, and it's really, really hard to see them. You know, in practice, I realized that if I could pole around, push with a push pole, rather than run my trolling motor, I could see a few of those big fish. Really, really important, because you'll see a bed with a small male on it if you're on a trolling motor, but if you can just sneak up on that bed, that big female is there, and you'll see her swim off once she sees you.
The other thing that you said was how incredibly strong these. We just got done with the Table Rock tournament. I'm going to let that out right now. You said, I love Table Rock, but it's a letdown after fighting with those gorillas.
It really is. I really don't know why those fish were so strong. You know, they had pads, they had eelgrass, they had all that cover that really gave them the opportunity to get you hung up and lose, but just brute strength. These fish were phenomenal. And, you know, I caught a 10-pounder the first day and 8 one day, and I lost a few that, you know, would have made a big difference. A lot of people talked about losing big fish in this tournament, more so than probably any tournament I remember in a long time.
Last question I have is, Florida has been your Achilles heel for years. What was different this time around?
You know, I did a lot of soul searching before I went there, because it has really been my Achilles heel. If you look back on my history, and like the first 2 tournaments, I cannot have those terrible finishes. I knew I needed to slow down and be patient in Florida, and that's what I did. And part of the reason I could do that, I knew I needed to get away from the crowds, do my own deal, and be patient.
Great stuff, man.
Mark Zona with another one of our great performers from the St. John's, Davy Hite. And how great is it to have Davy Hite in on our coverage, Bassmaster.com, for each and every elite event. His feature First Look takes you right into the boat with the anglers when they come off the water on championship day. Check it out. It is fascinating stuff. Hey, you know what? We want the first look at your big bass pictures. Look what Billy Weems sent us here, standing with a giant largemouth bass. We know you got some good pictures as well, so hashtag Big Catch, send them on. When we come back, even more great pictures, the one and only James Overstreet to show us some good stuff, maybe get you some fantasy picks. Don't go away.
The Bassmaster Elite Series, St. John's River, is brought to you by Toyota. Berkeley. And by Evan Williams Bourbon.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Elite Series on the St. John's River, where we say this is the week, that window in the spring when the big ones are findable and catchable. And it's been a bunch of monsters for sure, but none bigger than this 10-pound, 10-ounce giant brought in by Greg Hackney. It's our Carhartt big bass of the tournament. Right now, they'll get your watches ready. Dave Mercer is ready to roll with 6 seconds.
Moments away from takeoff here at the St. John's River, and obviously this tournament being dominated by the big bite, as it always is in Florida. The 5 biggest fish ever weighed in Bassmaster history was Dean Rojas with 45 pounds, 2 ounces. 6 seconds this week, we decided to ask our pros, will that record ever be beaten? And if so, where? Go.
I don't think it'll be beaten unless we go to Falcon or we hit one of these Florida lakes like Okeechobee.
Time's up. 6 seconds.
I talk slow, I'm from Arkansas.
Go.
Lake Falcon? I don't know.
Time's up. 6 seconds, go now.
Yeah, I think it could get beat, and it could get beat today here on the St. John's River. There are some giant. I saw it yesterday.
Time's up. You have to give me 3 bodies of water. I mean, you've gone into a whole seminar here.
I'm sorry.
You've got 6 seconds to answer. Go.
It'll never be broken. If it could be broken, Okeechobee, St. John's River, Falcon.
You got 6 seconds. Go.
Yes, it will be beaten. It'll be beaten either Falcon, Okeechobee, or Florida.
The champ is here.
Go.
Yes, it will be beaten, and it could happen today at St. John's River.
Where else? Out of time.
I really do think it could happen.
You're really out of time. I'm not joking.
I think it could happen here because
You've got 6 seconds, dude. That's how it works.
But I'm still talking. See, I'm excited about this because I think it could happen.
Dean Rojas, 5 biggest fish ever weighed in Bassmaster history by you, 45 pounds, 2 ounces. My question is, will that record ever be beaten? And if it is to be beaten, what are the 3 most likely bodies of water it's going to happen on? You got 6 seconds. Go.
Well, I hope it's not broke, but I'd say Falcon, Lake Toho, and here on the St. John's.
When you got 6 seconds to answer, go.
It could happen right here today. I would expect it to be pretty close today. A lot of big fish moved up, so we'll see what happens.
You didn't answer the question. 6 seconds, go.
I think Lake Okeechobee. I obviously think this place is capable of that after what we saw yesterday.
You've got 6 seconds to answer, go.
Yes, it'll be broken. Right here, it could possibly be Okeechobee and the California Delta.
Answer the phone. Who's calling?
My wife.
Let's say hi. Hi, this is Chad's answering service. I can't tell you what she said, but it involves Trip Weldon.
Trip? You're with Trip? That's great. That's great. You make sure it's at least 20 pounds heavier on the scale today, okay?
It will be beating Falcon Lake, the Kissimmee chain again, or St. John's River.
You have a spider web in you. Have you stuck in the boat all day? You have spider webs on your hat.
I slept under a tree in the boat like a troll.
Go.
Be here, Okeechobee, Chickamauga, and yeah, it will be beaten. I mean, all records will be beaten. I mean, that's what they're there for.
They'll never beat me. Never.
Trash talking like wrestling.
Never, 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 never. You will never, ever beat the 45-2. It's like a hardened battleship. It's taken a lot of hits, but it's still there.
Awesome, dude. You could be a wrestler.
6 seconds, it's just not that much time. You got to be ready. You got to be on your toes when Mercer rolls up on you. Meanwhile, we roll up on the undisputed leader of this tournament. That's so ever since day number 2 when Chris Lane caught himself 5 fish weighing 37 pounds and 9 ounces, just hanging on this final day.
Alligator. That's a good sign when you get in mats, buddy. Isolated. You know, we talked about that on the way down here about being able to take a little bit more risk, you know, a little bit more weight that you put in, able to take a little bit more and a little bit more. And, you know, you look what, we came over here to all this isolated stuff and things have worked out so far. I still want a 10, man. I ain't caught one all week. Been close, been about an ounce short.
Oh my gosh!
Now we're getting there. Just slow and steady.
Chris Lane breathing a little bit harder there. He had to be telling himself, hey, just catch a limit on this final day.
Exactly, and he definitely did that. Started to upgrade midday. From there, over to Justin Lucas. Well, he's living on that flat over in Lake George. Justin Lucas is a very solid tournament here, but the one thing that's been on his mind is winning the Rookie of the Year race with some very stout competition.
Dude, it's really cool. I didn't expect it, you know, to start the year. We got some, stud rookies this year. But these guys, just off the top of my head, Randall Tharp, Jacob Porosny, Glenn Brown too. Dude, these guys are really, really, really good. You know, Randall, obviously, everything he's done. Jacob's about the most consistent angler there is out of anyone. So, I look up to those guys, but at the same time, I want to continue to beat them. I like that I'm ahead of them right now. I'd like to stay ahead all year and not have to play catch-up. But they're both lakes I've never fished tournaments on. And so you never know what to expect, you know, when you've never fished a tournament on a lake before. So to get out of both those places with top 10s, I'm pumped, man.
Pretty salty, some strong stuff for a rookie in the form of Justin Lucas. And Justin wants to remember all these men. Man, he is outfitted with the GoPros. Even got one on his hat right there. Take a look at that. Justin Lucas is not going to let the world forget what he is pulling off in his rookie season. And now Mark Davis, far from a rookie and really fishing with renewed vigor and dedication.
Exactly, looking at Lake George right here, and Davis had a huge morning. The only problem is seeing what happened here on Lake George. There were so many big bass caught out of these areas, and all of these flats have irregularities, mixes of grass, dollar pads meeting eelgrass. Those fish would spawn right on those lines. The only problem Mark Davis has run into, there's just not many big ones left.
Well, to win, I need, I need a bunch of 10-pounders. You know, when you're in a deal like this, all you can do is just catch what you can, fish hard, and just do the best you can do. I mean, you're either on the fish to win or you're not, and you just have to make the best of what you got. That's all you can do.
You heard it from him. I need a bunch of 10-pounders today. That not happening, obviously. But Mark Davis, what a fantastic last 3 events. The last event of last season at Detroit. Since then, he's not finished out of the top 3. That is strong stuff.
And a lot of these anglers fishing in George, like Davis, they had kind of blind sight fish, just kind of throw their bait in any hole they could find. And one thing we noticed in this tournament, guys that were running around, running and gunning, they were not the ones that made it to the final day. Guys like Davis, Davy Hite, Dean Rojas get in certain areas of Lake George and bunker down.
That's more like it.
Mark Davis, magnificent. Mr. Momentum, that's for sure. Mark Davis's story, 3rd top 3 finish in a row with the Bassmaster Elite Series. That's a record. And Mark Davis, we just got to keep on talking to him because we're looking at Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year points right now. Never too early to start sweating those points, and the man on top of the points race, obviously. Mark Davis right there. Right behind him, Todd Faircloth. You can't have a points race without Faircloth in the middle of it. Justin Lucas, very interesting. A rookie with 2 top 12s in a row. That is great, great work. Jones walk around and out the top 5 right there. And always in the top 5 as we try to pick the most interesting man in the world. Our friend here, J.O. James Overstreet, who brings us into the boat on Bassmaster.com. And you got some beauties from this place because it's so different. It's just not like any other place we ever go.
Well, it's not, Tommy. And one of the things that really made this tournament different, I mean, this is totally unique. These are not spectator boats piled in here on top. Like we see that with spectator boats, but you rarely see this many Elite Series. Well, I've never seen this many Elite Series anglers.
How do you know who to be watching? How do you point the camera at? Come
in the
on.
next photo, we had 3 photographers that day in that area because there were so many guys that you just couldn't cover it all. So I just listened for fish fights. You could hear the splashing of the fish, and that's really how I keyed in on
around at that moment. And look at obviously right there. That
right,
was
like this big fish Mike Kernan's got, I actually hear him fighting that fish before I ever turn the camera on him.
Gigantic stuff right there. It's an awesome photo right there.
And then
the headlock right here. Look at that.
It is. I mean, that's just, you get them in the boat any way you can, and that's Casey Scannon has pretty much got an arm lock on this one trying to get it in the boat.
Had a great day that day. All those boats in that one part of the west side of the lake there. And there's my favorite picture for the whole thing.
This is on the last day on day 4. Davy Hite went into the final day in 2nd, and Chris has got that big lead. Can Davy run him down? Obviously he wasn't able to, but the photos were a lot of fun that day, and it was a really good day of working with Davy, and then obviously Marty here too.
Absolutely, so. 2 24-pound days for Davy Hite, and still gets beat by Chris Lane by a wide margin. And here we go, Randy Howell. How about his story? The classic champ comes in, day 1 leader with 27 pounds, blows everyone away, and then he gets 10 pounds more than that put on him the second day.
Yeah, this is from day 2 actually. After Randy grabbed the lead, caught that big sack on day 1, I jump in the boat with him on day 2. I actually spend my whole day on Randy. So this is for me in the boat. It's kind of a flying fish deal, one of the more interesting perspectives for a photo. You usually don't get a lot from in the boat with the guy, but I did spend a lot of time with Randy on day 2 in the boat with him.
Never seen one exactly like that. Let's turn the page a little bit. Let's turn over to Bassmaster Fantasy, and here you go. That's how you get logged on. They're so easy to participate in and get signed up and everything. So give us some help once you're in. James Overstreet, let's take a look at the meat of the season coming up here. Toledo Bend, Dardanelle. Give me 3 names. Somebody could help my team, my fantasy team, get over.
My absolute first pick for those 2 would be Dean Rojas. He's so good on Dardanelle. There's going to be a frog bite. The grass is probably going to be up. I would say Rojas at both those. Then I would go some Todd Faircloth. It's Toledo Bend. Yeah. It's Texas. It's grass and Dardanelle. It's all these things. He's got a lot of momentum. And then when you talk momentum, you stay with Mark Davis.
I knew you were going to say that.
You stay with him until something changes. And as we get into post-spawn, That's his strength. So you stay and you live with Mark Davis until something changes.
Don't get off the horse.
Do not.
Take it all the way to the barn. You can take it to the bank. J.O. right here with the money picks for you. Bassmasterfantasy.com. Coming up next, Chris Lane and some more breakdown of his great effort on the St. John River.
Oh my, there she is. Yes! Yeah, baby! Pow! Woo!
The Bassmaster Elite Series 2014, the young season. We're at our second event of the year at the remarkable St. Johns River, a special week on this river where the big largemouth bass are showing up in numbers. Our Diet Mountain Dew breakthrough move. How about Dean Rojas on the final day, going from 9th place, having a strong effort to get all the way to 2nd.
I never had a 20-pound bag through all the preliminary rounds, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3. It was hard for me to watch these guys catch 28 pounds and then catch another 20 pounds, 16, 15, they're all just, you know, ping pong. I mean, like a roller coaster, you know, but I knew that I could never have the bites throughout the week that I could weigh a 20-pound bag until the last day. I've been fishing like that all week. It's nothing I did differently. I fished the same areas, the big fish just showed up. You know, I was catching, not a whole lot of fish, but I was getting good bites, you know. I mean, catching 16 pounds a day average, 17 pounds, I mean, that's good. And then, but with all those males, there had to be some females running around, and I was able to get 3 of them on that last day and got launched all the way up to 2nd place.
Didn't I tell you you're going to watch them today, huh?
Oh, Dean Rojas is Marshall bringing some of the justice on this final.
The Marshal knows what's up with Dean Rojas. You look at it in terms of pure numbers. I mean, Dean Rojas may be the greatest side fisherman ever in that he holds the record for 5 fish catching them that way with the Bassmasters. And now, hey, how about one of our celebrated rookies, Joe Sancho?
New Windsor, New York, Joe Sancho had a couple tough first tournaments of the season, and Joe Sancho has learned very quick on the Elite Series. Some bad men.
Well, one thing is assassins is definitely what they are. You got to be fast. You got to be fast on your toes. You got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to change up on the top of a dime. So that's one critical thing that I'm learning. I need to pick up my game. I need to pick it up a notch. I got to start catching bigger fish. I'm catching I'm catching fish, but not the right quality.
Time will tell for Joe Sancho.
My guy.
Yeah,
Tommy, that's my guy right there.
Absolutely, as we head out to Chris Lane trying to put the finishing touches on this incredible tournament.
And really, Chris Lane put the finishing touches on this about the first 45 minutes today. Chris Lane in the last few minutes, though, icing it with yet another big one.
To me, key factor of the day is wind. You know, wind and cloudy skies. Yeah, I mean, you just never know. I mean, some guys' water might have stayed clean, but I think for the most part, you know, that east side, that east side had cleaned up when we didn't have no wind. There was a lot more fish over there that you couldn't see in practice. Oh my God. Oh my, there she is. There she is, boys. There's one of them. Yes! Yeah, baby! Pow! Woo!
Taking a look right there at your final fish, your final big fish of the tournament. You made the comment this was a 1-2 punch the entire week.
Yeah, down there in Florida, you know, I really had to pay attention to the wind because when it gets calm like that, looking at that last fish, you know, I would just old school pig and jig it because big fish like jigs down there. I mean, you know, you got Denny Brower, who has been my hero, who I watched, you know, just smash him on a black and blue jig. So going to old school Florida fishing, a little wind, I'd pick up a Lucky Strike worm, ribbon tail, or a stick bait, fire it out there, and pull it by there. And they'd hit it either 2 feet beyond it, right on the lily pads, or just past it. So you had to really change up, but fish slow.
For your hardcore guy at home that's watching this, the calmer it was, the more those fish would actually let you get on top of them and catch them on a jig. They would get tighter to the cover.
Yeah, and you can see there how tight those lily pads are. And the big fish, you know, there really was nothing else for them to relate to down there. In years past when I fished down there, there's been a lot of hydrilla or milfoil. This year, there wasn't a lot of grass, but major lily pads, and the fish were just loaded in there. I'm watching this, I'm sitting here, I watch my rod jump on one of those big fish, and I want to go back.
after you went, you know, when you lay the jig down, when that ripple would just kind of start, it was textbook Florida fishing. I made the comment to Sanders, I said, this is like watching Larry Nixon in the Megabucks when you and I were kids. But you constantly kept saying, I gotta slow down, I gotta make myself slow down.
Yeah, that's a big key, because when you're down there in Florida and you're fishing those lily pads, I mean, you know, an 8 or a 9 pounder changes the ball game of an event like that, especially, you know, to catch that giant sack on day 2. You know, I knew that it was going to be tough because I still had some big sticks behind me and they were coming. So, you know, slowing down, knowing that an 8, 9 pounder is in those lily pads or in that area somewhere, you just had to put your power poles down and pick it apart, because if you got going too fast, you'd go right by.
Jig when it was calm, worm when that ripple would start. And the other thing I want to know, there was other boats that fished in this area throughout this tournament. Where did they go wrong?
You know, I didn't, they were fishing a lot of the same stuff, whether it was confidence in their mind with knowing that there's an 8 pounder or could be a 9 pounder, you know, in that set of lily pads, instead of just hitting the outside edges and not actually getting into the middle of it at weather conditions, you know, if the wind was blowing. You know, I have no idea, but just a true blessing to bust those fish the way that it did down there. I mean, I loved every minute of it.
You what?
I love it.
Give me a little, just for the studio folks, just give me a baby, a little mini pow.
Pow.
Such good stuff. Chris Lane bringing the info, breaking it down. One of the most overwhelming victories ever for the Bassmaster Elite Series. As a matter of fact, Mark Zone and Chris Lane will be back in just a moment. We will break it all down with some final thoughts. Also, look ahead to the next stop on the Bassmaster Elite Series and one more added attraction. You won't want to miss it.
The Bassmaster Elite Series, St. John's River, is brought to you by Yamaha, Skeeter Boats, Bass Pro Shops, and by Humminbird.
15 pounds, even with 90 pounds, 13 ounces. Chris Lane brings the pain.
Bassmaster Elite Series, second event of the season, the St. John's River. And Chris Lane, that overwhelming victory, so incredible, so strong, in fact, that he only needed a few ounces on the final day. Was it a temptation to just not get out of bed?
Oh, no, I was fired up. I wanted to get back out there, you know, when big bass are biting like that in Florida and doing it the way that I grew up fishing. Man, I was just excited to go back down there and try to catch another, you know, giant bass.
And this really was, if you're to take all technology aside, this was a throwback tournament. This was old school Florida.
Yeah, this was back to take your rod, stick it down in the water. Is that a hard bottom or is that a soft bottom? So, you know, old school as it gets, just throwing a black and blue worm and pitching a black and blue jig and just having a time of my life out there, catching giant bass, and to actually do it in a tournament day was, that second day was just phenomenal.
And we made the comment, you have become one of the best closers in the Bassmaster Elite Series. When you sniff one, you leave with a trophy, Chris.
Well, you know, I think that goes back to Clark's Hill when times were really tough and having a 5.5 pound lead and losing to Mike McClellan. You know, the loss was bad enough, but then the $70,000 difference was, man, that was a hard thing to swallow back then. So, you know, it's just one of those things where you go out there and you stay focused. You know, it's a 4-day event. It's not 2 or 3 days. You've got to be in that mindset till the very end of the last day.
Hey, let's take all of us a quick look ahead. Toledo Bend. We'll start with you, Chris Lane. What's going to be going on there?
Oh, I think you're going to have a lot of fish you can catch any way you want to from, you know, it's been cold this year, so you're going to have spawning, post-spawning, pre-spawning. I mean, you're going to have everything down there, and, you know, that's going to be a lights-out tournament, a good event down there.
Looking at a little local love in that one. You look at Faircloth and Combs, they want a little revenge for what you did down there in Florida. But, Tommy, it's time. Number one, a lot of people said, well, yeah, sure. You know what? Love it. Some people hate it. But I'll tell you what it does. It keeps you honest. And a lot of people said that you could have went 8-9 days down in Florida and beat everybody. One person wants one more crack at you real quick. Ready? Come on over here. Come on over here. Exactly right. It's time. It's time for the egg of integrity, the egg of champions. We're going to do something different today. Okay? Mark Davis broke that egg in 31 seconds. Well, we love that. We're going to start this. First one of you two to crack the egg will walk out of here a champion. On your marks, get set. Tommy, say the word.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
First shot.
Are you kidding me?
That's it, Davy Hite.
4 seconds.
More than one egg.
4 seconds. Thank you for doing that.
And I let him go first. I didn't interfere with his pick.
He did. That was good.
Will anyone ever beat it? Toledo Bend, the next time we see you on the Bassmaster Elite Series.
That made my day.
Come on, man.
That was fantastic.
Yes! Yeah, baby! Pow! Yeah, baby! Pow! Woo!
Ah! Thank you, Lord Jesus, right there, baby. Boom, let's go get another one. Yeah!